Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer. I'm a bit behind on some of my reviews, so I'm going to be trying to catch up over the next 2 days. And I'm here to review the mostly unseen comedy, The House, starring Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler. When I saw the trailers for this, I thought this could be really funny, or it could be really stupid. And unfortunately, it was really stupid. And I was pretty disappointed by this film because it did have potential. It's an interesting story. It's a high concept, like, what if a bunch of people try to do an in-house casino to make money kind of thing? And there are some funny moments, but overall it's kind of just a flat movie. Andrew J. Cohen was the one who made this film. He directed it. It's very choppy and generic. It definitely feels like a serviceman kind of direction, because it's like basically anybody could have done this. It looks generic and looks like any other obnoxious adult comedy that's come out in the past like 10 years. So there's nothing about it that really sticks out in terms of the direction. And unfortunately, it has what I call kid pacing, which ironically, this isn't a very adult film, but kid pacing is you're moving so quickly over plot points because you don't want to have the kids bored. There's no kids watching this movie, but they gloss over things so quickly in this film that you don't really connect with anything, which is not a good thing, because then who cares? And if there's no laughs, then who really doesn't care? Like, everybody. And in terms of the tone of this film is really absurd, and honestly, it does stick with that. So I guess it's kind of consistent. It gets pretty violent at points. They do give that away in the trailers, but it's not a consistently funny film either, which is really disappointing. And honestly, you don't really connect, as I mentioned, with anybody. So there's no real emotion going on in here, just besides the fact that you feel bad for this college age girl who can't go to college now because the guy who runs the town's a jerk. And then it's like, okay, a bunch of nonsense ensues, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. From a cinematography perspective, Josh Shelton, who did the cinematography, I mentioned that this looks like it could have been directed by any person. Honestly, this film looks like it could have been shot by any person who's done an obnoxious adult comedy. There's no sense of, like, at least with Rough Night that came out this year, there's a sense of this has a look to it. The Hangover has a look to it. Adam McKay, when he makes comedies, has a look to it. This film just looks generic as hell. It's really hyper glossy and obnoxious use of slow-mo. Maybe it made me laugh once, good use of it, but overall it's kind of just blah, and that's really disappointing. And from a writing perspective, this was written by Brendan O'Brien and also Cohn, who directed the film. They have an interesting high concept idea, and they could have had so much fun with it, but just feels a bit of a mess and all over the place. And a character perspective, like, nobody has any depth to them, and honestly, most of the characters are really annoying. Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler's characters are annoying for almost the whole entire film. It's like, why do we even care? And their daughter is very flat, doesn't have a whole lot to her besides, I tried really hard and now I can't go to school because I don't have the money. And you kind of need more of a connection with that, or it feels really cheap. And in terms of the dialogue, there are some funny moments. I did laugh sometimes. There's a 10-minute stretch, and they allude to some of this in the trailers, when they finally really get into being these casino people. There's like 10 minutes where they're acting like they're hot shit and they're rich and everything, and it's just like, that was a lot of fun, and those are funny moments, but you can't judge a film being a good film based off of how 10 minutes of the film were. And then, honestly, there's no depth to this. The themes they tried to hint at, they really didn't spend any time on trying to build actual emotion or connections or motivations or any kind of motif or theme to build up on to have some kind of lesson in this film. It's just there. It's just kind of thrown out there. It basically feels like a bunch of jokes, and most of them fall flat. Now, Jason Mouzakis, who plays the best friend in this film, does a great job, and he's actually really funny. He's a real standout in this. I remember seeing him in Parks and Rec, as the obnoxious cologne guy, and I'm like, this guy's really annoying. I don't know how I'm going to feel about him in this film, but he's the standout. And Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler are funny during those moments where this film really kicks into gear, but everyone else, Nick Kroll's wasted, and just like, why? Why is this movie a thing? And honestly, it all really falls flat. And the biggest thing I can say about this movie is a lot of wasted potential. And I wouldn't waste my money on seeing this again, and I can't really recommend this film. For those moments, it was fun, and it is an interesting story and a great performance by Mousakis, but overall, I'm going to give this film a D.